It's the shared joy as a child participates in their first Shabbat. The feeling a family has knowing their child's school is safer and more secure. The stability our community members can count on in times of need. It's moments like this. Moments that keep our community going, despite those fighting against us. Moments that connect us to our tradition and remind us of our resolve. That inspire the next generation. Thanks to your unwavering generosity, we create moments that build and sustain the flourishing communities of tomorrow. From the 1,700 people trained by our professional security team to the 534 students who were educated at our partnership schools last year, we ensure that we continue to tackle the most important needs of today. We meet the community needs whenever they arise. From the immediate response to anti-Semitism on school campuses, to ensuring all Jews, regardless of background, feel a sense of belonging. Together, we create space for the dreamers and doers who represent the diversity of Jewish life. And together, we care for the most vulnerable members of our community, here in Milwaukee, Israel, and in more than 70 countries around the world. Thank you for creating moments like this today. Thank you for impacting the future of tomorrow. Thank you for supporting us. Today, tomorrow, always. Give now at milwaukeejewish.org/give.
Hello, and thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Yoni, and my wife Julie and I are pleased to be co-chairing tonight's event with our dear friends David and Monica Arnstein. This evening, together as a community, we gather in a solidarity for Israel and the Jewish people to confront the pervasive threat of anti-Semitism, guided by the experience and insight of our special guest, Noa Tishby. We also gather this evening to kick off the Milwaukee Jewish Federation 2024 annual campaign, which, as you saw in the opening video, provides essential financial resources for our community, partners here in Milwaukee, and Israel and around the world. The Federation works tirelessly year-round to strengthen and support the well-being of our local and global Jewish community, and plays an instrumental role in our fight against anti-Semitism.
We are reminded now more than ever of our shared history, a narrative woven with fortitude, tenacity, and moments of both triumph and tribulation. It is within this collective tapestry of experiences that our identity as a people finds its roots and resilience. Noa Tishby, a luminary whose advocacy and unwavering commitment to justice precede her, is here tonight to help us shine a light on anti-Semitism. Her resolute stance against injustice and her steadfast pursuit of truth serve as a testament to the determination of our community to combat the darkness of prejudice. We will also hear from Captain and Federation's former Chief Operating Officer, Shimon Levy, an avid community advocate whose works and volunteers locally and globally to support the Jewish people. Shine a Light on Anti-Semitism is not merely a title of this event. It is a call to action, a summons for unity and change. It serves as a platform for us to unpack the complexities of hatred, to scrutinize its evolving manifestations, and to strategize collectively on dismantling its corrosive impact on our society.
In an era of disinformation, where narratives and events challenge our values and sense of security, we must not remain complacent. Our response must be resolute, grounded in dialogue, education, and advocacy towards creating a world where every individual enjoys freedom from discrimination. Today's gathering is an embodiment of our resilience as a people. It's an affirmation of our unwavering dedication to stand strong against anti-Semitism. It's a celebration of the power that emerges from coming together, exchanging perspectives, and collectively charting a path toward a more inclusive and compassionate future.
Thank you to the Harry Rose and Sampson family JCC for hosting us this evening. And thank you for joining us this evening, for informing our conversation, and for standing united in our resolve to confront the challenges of our time. Together, let us illuminate the path towards a world where every individual, irrespective of background or belief, can thrive without fear or prejudice. Now I'd like to introduce our annual campaign chair and our dear friend, Susan Angel Miller. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It is so wonderful to see such a large turnout this evening. It's heartwarming to see so many familiar and so many new faces gathered here for this significant event. When I accepted this role of annual campaign chair with Max Rosansky, I had no idea the challenges we'd be facing and also the incredibly meaningful work we would be doing. The past few months have been disturbing and unsettling for all of us. As many of you know, this time has been especially unnerving for my family and myself, ever since my daughter Sarah, who lives in Israel with her husband Michael, called me on the morning of October 7th from a bomb shelter near his parents' home in Beersheba. They had narrowly escaped a rocket strike, which hit the nearby parking lot and actually damaged 10 cars, including the brothers, the mothers, and the fathers. Fortunately, everyone survived unharmed, but this close call and personal connection has fueled my passion, all that much more for raising funds, which we all know are critical for the annual campaign and the Israel Emergency Fund. In these 9 weeks, I've witnessed an extraordinary effort taking place locally and globally. The Federation's quick response on October 7th was not a stroke of luck. It was a testament to our readiness on October 6th. That's the Federation's role, to ensure the continuity of the Jewish people, enhance Jewish life, and foster a robust and united Jewish community everywhere. I'd like to profoundly thank the staff at the Milwaukee Jewish Federation for their inspiring leadership in grappling with this ever-changing needs, both locally and in Israel. I'd like to thank all of our Jewish communal professionals also, who are navigating unprecedented circumstances. If you are currently a Jewish professional, could you please stand? As you listen this evening, I urge you to consider your role in this community. What can you contribute to secure a safe and meaningful Jewish future? How can you deepen your involvement? This isn't an ordinary year, yet together we possess the ability and determination to ensure a prosperous and secure future for our Jewish community. On behalf of Max, myself, and the entire community, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in our annual campaign. And thank you for standing with Israel and the Jewish people. I'd now like to introduce Federation's President and CEO, Miriam Rosenzweig.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for saying yes to this role when we could not have even imagined what it would mean, not only to us, but to those around the world and in Israel. And thank you to our partners at the Harry and Rose Sampson JCC for also always saying yes and helping us create community. I've shared this story with a few of you, but I'm very struck this Hanukkah when I read my favorite rabbi that I quote. If you've heard me, I'm quoting Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, former chief rabbi of England. And he talks about Hanukkah, and he says, you know, there are two blessings that you say, and we'll do this later, we're going to light the candles. There are two blessings. The first one is the blessing on lighting the candles. And the second blessing is about the miracle of Hanukkah. And Rabbi Sacks says, why do we say the blessing about miracles on the first candle? Because the story of Hanukkah was that they found a little jug of oil that should have lasted one night, and it lasted 8 nights. The first night wasn't a miracle. Why would we say that blessing? And we know in the Talmud it tells us that the reason we say it is because they found a jug of oil. That was the blessing. And Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks challenges that. And he says, no, the miracle was that they looked for the oil. At a time when the temple was desecrated, when they have just survived a nation trying to destroy them, to Hellenize them, to take away their Jewishness, the fact that they had hope to walk into that room and look for it, that was the miracle. And I think for this Hanukkah, that's a very grounding moment. That hope in itself can be a miracle, to be able to see beyond where we are. And so when I was thinking about what I was going to say tonight, and I was going to sort of name all the hard things that we've done, I'd like to start with a little bit of hope. It's only been 2 months since this war began. And what gives me hope is how united our Jewish community is, how united our global Jewish community is, and how united we are in standing with Israel. You have to be a Jewish Milwaukeean to know how special it is to be here at this moment, and to know how incredible our community is. Since October 7th, we've come together a lot. We used to talk about what divided us, right? This is where we stand politically. This is what I agree and disagree about Israel. This is how I practice Judaism. This is the shul I don't go to, right? I do Jewish differently than you. That was the focus. But since October 7th, we've been reminded that Jewish is a team sport. You can't do Jewish alone. You don't survive as Jews alone. We can only do it together. This team, all of us came together on October 9th, 1,000 people. We had 2,500 people online gathering to stand with Israel and to stand together. This team, this Jewish community in 68 days has raised $5 million for our Israel Emergency Fund and joined other communities across America to raise over $711 million to support the needs of those in Israel. And this was done with a group of volunteers who said, Hineni, I am here, I will pick up the phone, I'm going to make the call, I want to be involved in this, and I'm going to ask my friends to participate in this historic moment. Thousands of donors were reached, and we all came together to do that. We've responded to the security of our needs together. Since October 13th, when we reassessed our security in this community has gone up by $30,000 a week. We did that together. We've supported our college students through our Hillel programs. I see you. There's not more of them now because there's another program happening. But I want you to know that we have an incredible Hillel director in Josh Herman, Rabbi Josh Herman. And the work that he is doing to make our students feel safe on campus, to be able to be Jewish proudly, he and his team are remarkable. And we are supporting him together. Just this week, we are training the superintendents of all the schools in Milwaukee how to support their Jewish students who've reported being ostracized from their social groups, who've been targeted in classes. We're doing this together. We marched on Washington, our Milwaukee crew, together with 290,000 of our closest Jewish friends and everybody who was watching online together. We did that, but we didn't do it alone. And it didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened because we were organized. We were organized as a community. Every part of our community plays a role there. And we already knew how to work together. And we were already committed to taking care of each other. This reminds me when the war in Ukraine started. The war starts, and that day we get to work. Because you know what? We didn't start helping Ukraine in February of 2022. We started when the fall of the Soviet Union was there. We were already there. So we were able to help because we already had agencies in Ukraine, in Moldova, in Romania, in Hungary, in Slovakia, in Poland. We were already there. We were able to raise the dollars philanthropically because as communities, we're already ready to do that. And in a very short time, we raised $90 million. We were able to help 3 million refugees in the first few weeks of this war and support those who are in Poland, primarily in Poland, but also those in Ukraine. And we went to a rally here with the Ukrainian community of Milwaukee, and they turned to us and they said, "How do you do this?" They learned that there were 10,000 Ukrainians throughout Wisconsin, and they were a Facebook group. And we started meeting with the leadership because we know how to organize. We know how to be community together with people that you've never met, but you have one thing in common, and that's you're Jewish. And she turned to me, one of the leaders, and she said, "How do you know how to do this?" And I said, "Well, we have 2,000 years of practice." And it's true. This isn't the first time that we've had to come together to solve really hard things. That's what we do. Little did I know we would be tested 18 months later. So I want to remind us, our work didn't begin on October 7th. And I've been saying, like Susan, our work on October 7th was here because we were here on October 6th. But I want you to remember that we're also doing this on the shoulders of giants who came before us. The first synagogue in Milwaukee opened in 1850, Temple Emmanuel. Thousands of Jews left Eastern Europe, and by 1902, the Jewish Federation was started in Milwaukee. The Hebrew Relief Society, now known as Jewish Family Services, was quickly followed. Mount Sinai Hospital by 1902 as well. The 1900s saw the creation of the settlement, which became the Abraham Lincoln House, which was renamed the Jewish Community Center in 1931, now known as the Harry and Rose Sampson Family Jewish Community Center. And the Federation Charities raised money to support all of these organizations in developing methods to coordinate resources. We were organized then to address the needs of the Jewish community, and we're organized now. When anti-Semitism rose, in 1938, the Jewish Welfare Fund was established. And together, in 1944, our community joined the United Jewish Appeal in an effort to raise $100 million to support the survivors of the atrocities that were happening in Germany and Poland. That's what we do. That's what we've done. It's not new to us. And it's our responsibility to take care of each other. You've heard me say it, so you know it's coming. The Federation has one job. We take care of the needs of the Jewish people, and we build a vibrant Jewish future in Milwaukee, in Israel, and around the world. The needs, we know them, and we've responded in Israel already, and we will continue to respond. But I want to remind us about that second part. Milwaukee, Israel, and around the world, and we need a vibrant Jewish future. Our annual campaign is what helps us ensure that. While we need to make sure that everyone who's been evacuated in Israel has a place to live and we can take care of their mental health, we have to make sure that our kids can go to camp and have positive Jewish experiences. While we have to make sure that everyone has food in Israel and everyone has food in the Ukraine, we have to make sure that our children have access to Jewish education, that our seniors have access to be able to live in senior housing that is Jewish. We want our kids to have PJ library, we want to have classes for our parents, and we want to make sure that we could do that and take care of all those who are in need in Milwaukee. That's what being Jewish is about. That's the job of Federation and all of us every day. So this year, I call on everyone to respond Jewishly. The whole world is available to fund all the many things that we love to fund culturally and socially across Milwaukee and across America, but only the Jewish community will take care of the Jewish community. This year, let's make sure that whether it's Federation or your synagogue or the program that you love or BBYO or Tikkun Ha'ir, that you are making sure that Jewish Milwaukee is strong. I say to you today, Jewish is a team sport. Today, we are talking about the annual campaign, and we hope that you will support the annual campaign to ensure that we could do this good work. But don't forget the rest of Jewish Milwaukee and say Hineni. Thank you. It's now my honor to introduce my friend, at times my colleague, at times my hero, Captain Shimon Gal Levy. You can see his resume. He's an entrepreneur. He's gone to Kennedy School at Harvard. But the first time I ever heard of Shimon, he was a hero. He was a hero who had been a captain who fought when the flotilla, the Marmara, I never say it right. You know what I'm talking about, the flotilla from Turkey. And I heard him speak and tell his story then. The second time I met him, I was sent with a mission: get Shimon to move to Detroit and sell him on the Midwest. And I'm very proud to say that I did get him to move to Detroit, and that's where Shimon became my friend. And unfortunately, he was smarter than me, so when I moved to Milwaukee and I had challenges in understanding some of the business parts of Federation and how to solve them, I called my friend Shimon and I said, just give me 2 weeks, just a little short of time, and I just want you to help me solve this one problem. So he stayed for 3 years and served as our COO, and my friend became my colleague, and we all did as a community tremendous things together. And this summer he went back to his consulting business. We share a birthday, October 7th. And yes, I heard the groan. For the rest of our lives, when someone says our birthday, there'll be a groan, right? That's our birthday. Unfortunately, I'm older. And I called Shimon, and I realized Shimon's not waiting to get called up. Shimon was already looking on how he was going to go to Israel. And I thought, okay, we got your wife. We'll check in with her. We know that you have 2 babies at home, but are you really going to go to Israel? There's no flights going in. And he said, I'm getting to Europe, and I'm going to get to Israel from there. And by October 8th, Shimon was my hero again. I'm going to let him tell his story, but we are so honored that you came here to share, that you've been part of this Milwaukee mishpacha before, and that you will continue to be here after. I'm so proud of you, Captain Shimon Levy.
I was in Milwaukee for 4 years. I just want that on the record, 4, not 3. My dear Milwaukee mishpacha, happy Hanukkah, Chag Sameach. It's so very, very, very good to be here. It's heartwarming to be with you all here today, and I feel I'm amongst supporters, friends, and family. Thank you, Miriam, for your leadership, friendship, and commitment to Milwaukee Jewish community. We're at a moment in time that begs for unapologetic clarity, pride, and leadership. My 4 years working as part of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation were nothing short of transformational. My family and I were embraced by this wonderful community, its members, volunteers, and professionals. Thank you all for being a home away from home for us. Home. There's something powerful about that word, what it represents. Is home a physical structure, a place where your loved ones reside, a place where your neshama flourishes, a place where your children's future is embedded? October 7th, as Miriam said, happened to be my birthday. I turned 38. It is also the day, after a decade in the States, that I got the call to go back home and serve. Waking up in the middle of the night, quickly understanding the breadth of what was unfolding, my first call was to my family to make sure everyone are safe. My second call was to my military commander. He told me to come and I'll be stationed. On the first flight out, I started the long journey back home. The journey to Israel was long. Airlines canceled flights in real time, and the only way into the country was through privately chartered or El Al flights from specific destinations in Europe. Along the 30-hour plus 30 airline journey, I met the salt of the earth Israelis, students in universities, expats, businesswomen, young men, young friends, all after their military service, going on an adventure. All headed back, most of them, like me, weren't called, but were making their way independently or volunteered for service. 300,000 Israelis, 3% of Israel's 10 million population, came back in the first few weeks of the war to serve. Think about it, how counterintuitive it is. When most people escape war zones, we all go out of our way to fight back. Meshuganas, yeah? I mean, one of the many examples of the beautiful Israelis that I encountered in my time there. Now let me tell you a little secret about the beautiful Israelis. I don't know if you know, but they have a superpower, an alter ego. And contrary to what you may believe, it has nothing to do with chutzpah. It is in our DNA. It is our military ethos. The elementary school teacher, who's an officer in the artillery. The shaliach, who is a combat soldier in Nachal. The landscaper, who is a tank commander. The restaurant owner, who is an intelligence officer. The academic, who is in special forces. The executive of an NGO, who is a pilot. The chair of this very event, who is a combat soldier in Golani, and over the past 24 hours suffered 20 horrible losses with all of his brothers in arms. Yoni, we love you, and we're thinking about you and your brothers. Exceptional circumstances require ordinary people to become extraordinary. We wear our capes under our clothes. No one usually knows them. No one needs to know them. They come out when they're needed the most. They came out following October 7th. My time in Israel was challenging. It was a combination of immense trauma and pride like no other. The trauma, experiencing the anguish and pain of walking the destruction and carnage left by Hamas ISIS terrorists a few days after that dark Saturday, when it was still raw, unfiltered, real, where I saw firsthand the bodies, the pieces, the blood, the bullet-filled cars, burnt structures, RPG holes, helicopter shells, scorched earth, and the horrible smell of gunpowder, burn, and corpses. A war zone unlike anything I've ever previously experienced, of the worst possible kind, and arguably in one of the most pastoral places in Israel. Or walking the Nova Peace Festival, where hundreds of festival goers were butchered. The irony being, in a place where the theme "Love Thy Neighbor" and "Save the Planet" were predominant, is where they met their atrocious death. You may have not been there, but I'm sure you have come across the images, testimonies, or coverage in some firm. Now the pride. Through my travels across the country, visiting combat zones and the beautiful and motivated melting pot of Israeli society from different units and all walks of life, religious, secular, right-wing, left-wing, black, white, brown, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, it didn't matter. They were all Israelis. To the everyday citizens who volunteered, built command centers, set up mobile food trucks, shower trucks, sent army supplies, and volunteered their time, resource, and passion for the soldiers and dislocated citizens of the South and the North. Fortunate is the nation that these are our daughters and sons. The work that they have done over the past 68 days would put to shame any government. To my personal role in establishing the first Ministry of Defense and IDF Joint Command Center for personal protective equipment donations since 1967, that facilitated many thousands of Kevlar vests, tactical helmets, combat gloves, protective glasses, knee pads, all being key determinants in launching the ground offensive. So much pride, anchored in so much pain. Landing back in the States in early November, seeing the abhorrent, unabashed, and colloquialization of anti-Semitic rhetoric that is unfolding before our very eyes was shocking, but not yet surprising. You see, the lurking hatred that has been surfacing for 3 millenniums, Jew hatred, is now front and center in all of its might. From the past couple of weeks alone, we're calling for genocide of Jews. Depends on the context. We're in my own backyard, as a trustee of the University of Michigan Hillel, a campus-wide referendum calling Israel an apartheid, genocidal, colonial, ethnic-cleansing state who probably killed Bambi's mother, is circulated for consideration, bringing out over 12,000 students to vote with no relevancy to truth or fiction. Where Jews cannot publicly light a menorah without having the ceremony interrupted by demonstrators, where Israelis are denied service and publicly and shamefully marginalized, where Jews are disregarded by the same social justice movements and DEI professionals who they marched the streets proudly with and advocated for. Natan Sharansky said it best: when Jews are demonized, delegitimized, and double standard is applied is when anti-Semitism is prevalent. My friend, this is age-old Jew hatred. This is the anti-Semitism that our parents, uncles, in-laws, and grandparents experienced and warned us about. To this, we collectively need to say, hell no. Unacceptable. We will not be victimized, no sir. We stand tall, we stand proud, do not back down, do not look away, do not be afraid. Our haters have forgotten that we have over 3,000 years of surviving Jewish oppression, and today we have our own independent, sovereign state of Israel, where every Jew is forever welcome and who will protect Jews around the world. We will not be bullied into compliance, and we will not shy away from our values. All the while, our brave and heroic Jewish students are fighting the campus battlegrounds, being nothing short of lions and lionesses on the front line, sacrificing of themselves, speaking truth to power on behalf of those who do not have a voice because they are kept as hostages in a tunnel of Gaza, or God forbid worse. These students, these brave Jewish students that we're honored to be with today, are community products. The Jewish day schools who taught them identity, BBYO who taught them to find their voice, synagogues who taught them Jewish pride, JCC summer camps who taught them leadership and passing it forward, and all other incredible work that our agencies and partners are doing daily. Through your hard work, through our collective hard work and investments, they are now the ones who are holding the torch proudly, unapologetically, at a grave personal and professional cost, and we should all be immensely proud of them. That's right, you deserve it. My friends, 5% of Jewish dollars goes to Jewish causes. Let me say that again. 5% of Jewish dollars goes to Jewish causes. If we learned anything, is that we are our brother's keepers. In these trying times, we have no one but ourselves to hold on to. Allow us to continue to support one another, our community, and the state of Israel with pride and resolve. I'll leave you with a final thought. For a very, very long time, some said that not all American Jews relate to Israel. That was perfectly fine, but also perfectly wrong. See, because whether you choose to affiliate yourself with the need of a Zionist dream and a reality of a sovereign Jewish state of Israel, the royal they see you as an inherent part of it. Before you were a Democrat or a Republican, liberal or conservative, humanities or scientist professionals, to them, we are, first and foremost, Jews. And this is what we all now are beginning to realize. In summary, allow me to invite you to connect back home, the place that is the nexus of your physical and spiritual beings, the zenith, so to speak, our center of gravity, where we can all and will always belong, Israel. Thank you for supporting our home and aspiring and wishing for the day we'll all go back to walk it, breathe it, and worship in it. Am Yisrael Chai. Chag Chanukah Sameach. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for all your service. Thank you for what you've done in Milwaukee. You are a hero not only in Israel, but absolutely here in Milwaukee. Thank you, Shimon. Good evening. I'm Joan Lubar, board chair of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. Let me say proud board chair of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation, and it is my honor tonight to introduce our keynote speaker and moderator this evening. This evening's conversation will be moderated by Nancy Kennedy Barnett. Nancy is a longtime community leader and volunteers her time with numerous organizations. She's the immediate past chair of the Harry and Rose Sampson JCC, previous officer and board member of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. She's an incoming board member of the Jewish Community Foundation. Nancy is a board member of the Nathan and Esther Peltz Holocaust Education Resource Center and a past president of Congregation Shalom, just to name a few. In other words, she's very busy volunteering her time, but when she's not, she loves to travel and spend time with her 6 grandkids. Nancy is a good friend of mine and of this community's. We are thrilled to have her leading this discussion today. Our guest speaker, Noa Tishby, of which I am, I think, president of her fan club. I'm a super fan. Was born in Tel Aviv to a secular family. Her great-grandfather was the founder of the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Her grandfather was Israel's first ambassador in West Africa and served as a member of the Israeli delegation to the UN. And her grandmother is a founder of Degania Aleph, the first kibbutz in Israel. Noa herself served in the IDF. In 2011, she founded Act for Israel, an online Zionist organization, with the purpose of correcting misinformation about Israel's history, culture, and governmental policies. She's also the founder of Reality Israel, which hosts a series of trips to Israel for Jewish and non-Jewish people. In 2016 and 2017, she spoke before the UN General Assembly in support of Israel. In 2021, she published her New York Times bestseller, Israel, A Simple Guide to the Most Misunderstood Country on Earth, and one of my favorite books. In 2022, she was appointed as the first special envoy for combating anti-Semitism and the delegitimization of Israel. And this past November, she testified in front of Congress for the safety of Jewish students. Noa is also a philanthropist and believes in our guiding principle of tikkun olam. In 2022, she became the 11,000th signer of the Jewish Future Pledge, a charitable campaign to encourage American Jews to designate at least 50% of their charitable giving to Jewish or Israel-related causes. We are grateful that she is able to join us today. It's taken me 3 years to get her here, and I did it. I'm so proud and so thrilled. So please join me in giving Nancy and Noa a warm Milwaukee welcome.
Oh, getting a picture? Hey, I was giving it up to Shimon. Hang on a second. Hang on. Okay, we'll do it in a second. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's fine. You guys just wait. There you go. Okay. Hi. Shimon. Hang on. Hey. Hello. I mean, I can talk like that.
No, I think.
Hi. Why is it not working? It's fine. Both of them need to work, I would say.
Should be working.
There you go. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was a beautiful speech, like 2 beautiful speeches. I actually wrote notes. I always quote Jonathan Sacks as well, Lord Jonathan Sacks, because he's incredible. And Shimon, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. So give it up. You've got amazing people in your community here. I want to talk about Zionism in the context of what you were talking about for a second. Can I just jump in for a bit? What happened on October 7th, a lot of things have happened on October 7th. We're still in it, so we still don't actually know how this is going to manifest itself in our community, in our collective psyche, in Israel, in the Middle East, in the world. Like we're still very much in it. But one of the things that became very clear for a lot in the Jewish community is that connection to Israel. Because I have been doing this job for, I've been doing this for the better part of the last 15 years. And I would find a lot of people that had this, Israel, what does Israel has to do with me? Right? A lot of people in the Jewish community. Or they would say like, yeah, I love Israel. I'm not entirely sure why. And one of the things that had happened on October 8th is that I know that every single Jewish person around the world felt the exact same thing. No matter how right or left or Democrat or Republican, or you love Bibi or you love Lapid, or it doesn't matter, you felt a knot and you wanted to vomit. You had this, right? And I know this to be true all over the world. Like this is not, we all felt this collective shock to the system. And I think one of the things that we are going to focus on from now on is one of the things that I've been trying to talk to, especially to the younger people, right? Hi, are you all from Michigan? Where are you from? From
UW.
Here. Over the college? What was
UW, Milwaukee.
Got it, Milwaukee College. Sorry, I heard. Sorry. Oh, God, you mess with colleges in America. Everybody's so, particular. We're Jewish, aren't we? Yay, find what's uniting, right? But I think a lot of people in our community felt that shock, and people that were involved and knew and have been a part of the community, they were responsive and responsible and knew what to do and jumped right in. But there were a lot of people that didn't understand why they were feeling this. And I think this is an incredible opportunity to re-educate our Jewish community to what Zionism is and why should they care. So even people that would say Americans or people from around the world who are like, but it's a different country. Why would I don't necessarily have any connection. Or the thing to understand is this: Zionism, in and of itself, is inseparable from our Jewish culture and tradition. You cannot separate Jewishness from Zionism, from the land of Israel, because Judaism is an indigenous religion. It's an indigenous religion that is inseparable from a place, from a land. Think about that, right? For 2,000 years, we're saying next year in Jerusalem, right? We're celebrating Sukkot, which is on the way to Jerusalem. We're waving the 4 species that are indigenous to the land. We are celebrating holidays that are based on the moon cycle of that land. Like everything that we do is connected to a place. We are indigenous to that land. So it doesn't matter what kind of a Jew you are, where you're born, what you're about, what your political affiliation is. That knot in the stomach that you have when something happens in Israel is because of that. And it is our responsibility to now wake the Jewish community up for that and explain to a lot of people, especially the young ones, why it is that we are inseparable from that place. And if there are there's going to be a lot of opportunities that are going to come out, God willing, from this trauma of traumas, right? And I think one of them would be reignite Zionism and reclaim that word in the collective psyche. Reclaim that word. It's our word. It's a blessing. That's what it is. So thank you so much for everything. And hi, okay, there you go. I just felt like I needed to say that because it was such a beautiful speech.
You had to get it out. So thanks. Thank you for being here. I think you can tell we're really excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. So those of us who've been paying attention we can tell that there's been this increase in anti-Semitism. And so I'm sort of curious, obviously you feel it too, the unconscious or conscious bias. What can we do so that our children 15 years from now aren't experiencing the same unconscious biasm?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. First of all, let's just... They are going to experience it in 15 years too. In 150 years as well, and in 1,500 years as well.
I'm an optimist.
But I think it's better to be a realist and then be okay with that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because here's how I look at it. So anti-Semitism is the oldest form of hate and discrimination that is still being practiced today. So the first accounts of anti-Semitism go back to like Alexandria in 300 BC when they talk about this people, of the people with the weird kind of traditions that they have. Who is that people, right? So anti-Semitism is a shape-shifting conspiracy theory. I divide it into 4 eras. Right? So this is a part of the work that I do, and it's going to be in my next book. So, thank you. Hey. No, I can't tell you what it's about yet. That's my next question, but it's obviously about our work. So anti-Semitism is a shape-shifting conspiracy theory. So every few hundreds of thousands of years, it changes into something different. It doesn't erase the other one. It's just one on top. It's like a Lego of hate, right? So in the olden days, before Christianity, anti-Semitism, first accounts of anti-Semitism were nationhood and peoplehood based. So people were talking about those weird people, right? Am muzar hazeh, right? Then after Christianity, it became religious anti-Semitism. So the Christ killer and the drinking the blood of Christ, and it became religious anti-Semitism. The persecutions were based on religion. It was the Inquisition at the time, and so on and so forth. So you were chased because of being a Jew, or religiously Jewish. At the time, you could convert out of it, but then it changed again to racial and political anti-Semitism. And you cannot convert out of racial anti-Semitism. That was what was the basis for the Nazis, basically. It was actually the mayor of Berlin. He was the first one to use racial anti-Semitism as a political tool to get elected. That was the Nazis based that upon. And in recent years, it shape-shifted again. Remember, it's layered. So all the other ones have stayed. So we still have right-wing anti-Semitism, like, the Jews are responsible for the fires in California with space lasers, Or Jews will not replace us. That's kind of like the old school anti-Semitism. But the new and improved one is, thank you, anti-Zionism. So they've taken the word Jew, they have replaced it with the word Israel, IDF, or Zionists, and it's all fun and games. So whereas before it used to be, here it would sound like the Jews indiscriminatorily kill Christian babies. Now it's the Jews, the IDF, indiscriminatorily kills Palestinian babies. It's literally exactly the same, right? So, what we need to understand is that sadly, they can be assholes. What can you say, right? People hate the other, right? You can find people who hate blacks and Latin and, blonde people and, whatever. People just don't like the other, so it's always going to be around. Anti-Semitism is never going to end, even 15 years from now, to my kid and to his kids and to the next generations. But I'll tell you what we can do. A couple of things. Number one, what I'm trying to do in my work is just make it less cool again. I just wanted to go back in the closet. I'll be fine with that. There used to be a time where being an anti-Semite was an embarrassing thing. Now people are proud to be anti-Semitic, which I'm not okay with that. That's number one. Number two, the only thing that we can do to, quote unquote, to mitigate that hate, to win over it again this generation and again the next generation, is inspire Jewish pride with our young generation. Exactly. Looking at you, college kids. Looking at you. Exactly. That's the only thing. Because if you're proud to be Jewish, which is like crazy not to be proud to be Jewish, right? Because, just imagine if I'll tell you a story about like this people, tiny little people, that throughout history, empires have tried to kill it. And not just like accidentally try to kill it, like intentionally, methodically, systematically, over and over again, try to go after this nation, clean the world of the Jew over and over again, and didn't succeed. And not only didn't succeed once, they didn't succeed over and over and over and over again. And not only did these people survive, they thrived. And the empires are gone. Every single one of them is gone. That's like statistically impossible. Yet, here we are. Here we are. We're sitting here. The fact that every single one of us in this room is even alive is a miracle. Like, we all are survivors. So for younger people, especially now, when we live in a world in which being proud of your identity, no matter how esoteric it is like cheered upon, which is great. Why are we doing that with our tradition that has history, like thousands of years of like culture and history and stories, and it's just insane. And that is what I am doing. So that to me is one of the, in addition to fighting anti-Semitism and defending Israel, which is, I've been doing for a very long time, inspiring Jewish pride for like the younger kids, for them to look at me and be like, oh, she's cool. That's cool to be Jewish, because it really is. And that is a huge part of what we do, and what we do as a community, and what Federation does, and what JCC does, is continuing to strengthen our community. If our community is strong, who can mess with us? No one.
Wow.
And then it's like, Kanye West who?
So many people here know that I'm a child of a survivor, and I go out into the community telling my father's story. A couple years ago, after I gave my father's speech, someone raised their hand, an 8th grader, and said, so I was talking to my mom last night, and she said that she had a friend that said the Holocaust never happened, but it should have.
Oh, that's a nice cherry there.
So, in your book, I read your book, and it
please tell me it wasn't a Jewish person that said that.
It was not.
Okay, good.
So my question to you is, something like that I read in your book, that something like that happened to you. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that, and how do you tell all of us, what do we do to prepare ourselves? How do we answer that question?
To answer the question, first of all, you pick up the jaw from the floor. That's the truth. I'll tell the story quickly, and then we'll talk about what to do about it. Which, you know what? Actually, we'll do it the other way around. The only way to go about this, first of all, is insist on education in schools. Call your councilmen and women, your representatives, your schools, your public schools, your not just the Jewish school. Reach out to the community and insist that Holocaust education is a mandatory part of any education, any curriculum, in any school, all the time. Never stop. That's number one. I'm not entirely sure what to say to that person into their face. It's an eighth grader. So you can't tell him your mom is an idiot. Check that. Sorry. I'm Israeli sometimes, you know.
I thought it.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's you. Would you ask to talk to that person? Is it somebody? Because it depends on the person and the relationship that you have. Do you know what I mean? Like you need to have, if you have a relationship in which you feel like you can pick up the phone and call that person and sit around and have a conversation, especially you, a child of a survivor, that would be the most beneficial thing to do. I'm a big believer. A lot of people ask me a lot what to do about social media and how do I become a better advocate and how do I post more. And I always tell them to not even worry about it. Don't think about posting. Invite your work colleagues for Shabbat. Analog, not digital. Just reach out, talk to people, have conversations, invite people over. It's the only thing that works, that actually works. So if you can have a conversation with that woman, and if you encounter something like that, definitely reach out and have that conversation. Which is not how I reacted when it happened to me for the first time, because I was 17 years old. I'm ruining everything here. Okay, it's fine. So the story that you're referring to is, it's in my book, and it's the first time so growing up in Israel, you don't experience anti-Semitism at all. I thought anti-Semitism was settled after World War II. Like, I think we're done with that, no? No. Literally had no idea that people actually think like that still. And I was 17 years old, and I went with my best girlfriend. We went to Greece, because Israel and Greece, it's like an hour and a flight, so it's kind of like, I don't know, where is the beach town that the kids go to, like, vacations in this area? I know there is no beach. Where do you travel to? Like Israel to Greece. Are you like laughing going, oh my God? Because I do have a terrible sense of directions, by the way. But in this case, like in Florida, Panama Beach. In like, LA, they go to Tijuana. Like it doesn't matter. I don't need to know. It's fine. So that's what we did. So we're like, it's summer vacation, and me and my girlfriend are like, let's go to Greece. And we go to Greece, and we are on this cheap ferry that goes from Athens overnight to this island called Ios. And it's like a bunch of kids. It's all very kind of low rent and awesome for a 17-year-old. And we're on this boat, and it's the middle of the night, and this guy comes up to me and starts talking to me, and he's tall, and he's blonde, and he's cute, and we start talking, and we walk on the deck, and it's moonlit, and blah, 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 and all that, and he, at some point it comes up, he goes, where are you from? I go, I'm from Israel. Where are you from? And he goes, I'm from Germany. And then he goes quiet. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I sense like this uncomfortableness that he wants to like die. And I'm trying to like lighten things up a bit, and I go, oh, you're reacting in a way, but it's like, don't worry about it. Like we have a very checkered past, but like we've learned from it and we moved on, and this is just to make sure that it never happens again. But look, we're good, right? And he looks at me dead straight, and he goes, well, we're not 100% sure that it happened, and even if it did, you people took the money that we gave you and you used it for your wars. So clearly he wasn't getting lucky that night. I did not know what to say. I looked at him and I was dumbfounded. I was shocked. Again, I'm a sheltered Israeli thinking that everybody knows what Israel is about, and especially a German boy. And I excused myself and walked away and went to my girlfriend, and I'm like, can you believe this actually happened? And that was my first encounter with anti-Semitism, specifically what's called Holocaust denial and distortion. Now I know there's a name for it. I wish I would have had that information then. But since then, obviously, I have learned that Jew hatred is a very popular sport around the world. And I think that as a community, we should be okay with it while fighting it. Does that make sense? Because if you wake up in the morning thinking, I have to end this, you're going to lose your mind. So I don't believe for a second that I'm going to end anti-Semitism, but I want to make a difference every day. So it's not a problem to solve. It's kind of like it's a context that I live into. So I wake up in the morning kind of going, all right, I'm going to make a difference. I'm making a difference with one person. I've done my job. Great. Just move the ball forward. And hopefully we'll see a difference accumulated over time with our community. But knowing that it's never going to be quote unquote resolved is a very liberating thought that should give us strength in a way. Like it's anti-Semitism. It's like people have always hated us. As you said, we have 3,000 years of experience on how to deal with that. This is not our first rodeo. So, as we said, we are still around. All the other nations that have tried to mess with us are not. So we'll survive this too. So.
Wonderful. I liked what you said, that it's person to person, so that every single person, the best way to do it is to talk. And do you want to talk a little more about person to person, or is that good?
I just think that all of us, we don't even think about it, right? Every single one of us have friends from yoga and friends from if the kid doesn't go to a Jewish school, then we got the moms over there. And if we have work colleagues that are not Jewish, and if we none of us are only surrounded by Jews, we just never think to include them. And there's something about it that is kind of like, there are a couple of elements to this. First of all, you're like, well, that's kind of my thing, right? I don't think they're going to be interested. And I don't think that's true. I think they're very interested, especially now. And also, there has been a sense in the Jewish community, which is, I'm going into something else now, which is about more connecting to the Jewish pride, right? Because all of us are a bunch of survivors, right? We have in the Jewish community, and this is something that I've been talking about since before October 7th, and now even more, we have an epigenetic fear, right, of being rounded up, literally rounded up. So think about it, we got triggered before October 7th when Kanye West was tweeting. We all got triggered. Because when we hear the Jews control the blah, 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 we're like, oh my God, we know what comes after that, historically, right? So we trained ourselves in a way in the diaspora to be quiet, to be to not ruffle any feathers, to be very I'm going to just be very successful, but in the corner. I don't want people to notice how good we're doing as a community. Shh. Right? And that's just not, first of all, it's not going to work because we're always going to be othered. Doesn't matter how much we want to hide. That's number one. Number two, this hiding thing is even more suspicious, right? They're never inviting me for Shabbat, say, our non-Jewish friends. What are they hiding, right? And the other thing is this. Why aren't we proud of the achievements that we have achieved as such a tiny community? Just think about that. The Jewish community is 0.2 or 0.18 of the world population, and we are the recipients of 22% of Nobel Prizes. That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's more. It's 26 in economy and 29 in math, and whatever. The percentage goes, You can look it up. So the fact, something about the Jewish way of life, right, works. It produces incredible results. The proof is in the pudding. It's not even, and the thing about it is that there's nothing about the Jewish community that is secretive. It's all out there. So, in my opinion, we need to be, to your question about the analog, we need to be as open as we can, as more welcoming as we can, and be yo, you should all imitate our way of life because it's really great. Obsession with family, great. Obsession with education, amazing. Debating over everything is, I'm not even joking. It's one of the most incredible things about the Jewish tradition. Think about that. Judaism is the only religion that for thousands of years have been documenting dissenting views. It's true. This rabbi says that, but no, the other rabbi says another. No, what do you think about? I don't know. What do you think about it? And throughout generations, like truth prevails, Judaism transforms and changes. And it's in the DNA to be like, yes, but why? Right? But why? When I moved to America, I had a lot of, and started hanging out, I had a lot of non-Jewish friends. One of my girlfriend, or my guy friend, she said other things that shouldn't be discussing here. He went to Catholic school. And not particular Catholic family, but they sent him to Catholic school because it was like the best Catholic school in Australia where he was raised. And he said he's very non-religious, hates everything that has to do with Catholicism and Christianity, and thinks everything is like, a hoax or whatever. His opinion. So we talk about, and he tells me about the nuns told him about the Immaculate Conception. And he said, and I raised my hand, and I was like, and he was 10 years old, and I was like, what do you mean? It doesn't make sense to me at all. Like, it doesn't, what about that? And I go, that's great. What did the nun say? And she said, she hit my fingers with a ruler. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you're not allowed to ask questions. And it occurred to me, I'm like, what do you mean you're not allowed to ask questions? That's literally how we're built. Like, you have to ask questions. It's built in our tradition. Rabbi Wolpe said this. Rabbi Wolpe is a LA rabbi that just resigned from the Harvard Antisemitism task force because, he said, there's nothing, I can't help you anymore. I tried, can't help you. But he said in one of his sermons, in terms of the context of Judaism being a debatable kind of tradition built in, he said, even in our commandments, right, the 10 Commandments, it said, B'yom Shabbat lo ta'aseh lecha kol melacha. That's the commandment about the Sabbath, to watch the Sabbath. But it's written, and on the Sabbath, you're not going to do any melacha, any job. And then it's like, but what is melacha? What does that mean, a job? You're not going to do any job. Does it mean lighting the candles? Does it mean driving? Does it mean talking? Does it mean working? Does it mean cooking? What does that mean? So it's literally built in, and every Jewish community creates their own kind of traditions and their own, So it's one of the most powerful things in our culture. And to go back to the question, if we're not open about this, if we're not proud about this, what the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing? We've got so much to be proud of.
Thank you.
That was a very long answer to the analog. Do you have more to say about the analog? A little bit.
Wasn't worried about you keeping this going. Let's talk a little bit about the intersection of anti-Semitism, anti-Israel, and anti-Zionism. In your book, you make note that Israel's not without its faults. There was lots of people last summer, protesting every single day. Can you know
why Israel's not without a fault?
Go ahead.
Because it's a country, and countries are not perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, could you unpack the parallels and the differences of those three terms as how it relates to events in Israel this last year?
So, a lot to unpack. First of all, let's get straight here. Anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism, they're one and the same, first and foremost, as we discussed from before. The thing about this, and we'll talk about that for a second, is when people say to you, and again, now it's different. Since October 7th is different because you need to be blind to not to see the connection. So literally before October 7th, people were like, but I don't get it. And now everybody, especially in the Jewish community, but even outside the Jewish community, it's a conversation everywhere. It's in the conversation now that people are saying, yeah, anti-Semitism and anti-Israel kind of are related to each other, right? So people are seeing this more. But what I used to say before October 7th, and it's true for today as well, is that when people would say to me, I'm not anti-Semitic, I'm just an anti-Zionist. The next question that I would ask them is, oh, that's interesting. So which other countries would you like to dismantle? Usually it was the only one, and it just happens to be Jewish. So there is no question that these are one and the same. I think that debate is like the train has left the station. Everybody understands that. Being a Zionist doesn't mean that you don't criticize or have debates over Israeli government policies. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or whatever it is that you are. You don't like, I would agree, I would imagine that we all agree, the policies of keeping kids in cages in the Mexican border, right? Like, nobody likes that policy. but nobody's talking about dismantling America. So Israel's literally the only country in the world that her existence is being questioned. Her mere existence. And that is the difference that I've been pointing out to. So I just did a speech about this. I'm probably going to post it tomorrow, but a part of what this was that it occurred to me that the self-flagellating kind of young Westerners that are obsessed with how oppressive they have been, even though they have done nothing wrong, right? Are trying to wash their hands from the sins of colonialism. And they found a scapegoat. And in order to wash the sins of colonialism, they decided that Israel, the last bastion of colonialism, needs to be taken down. And obviously, Israel's a refugee state, which was literally decolonized from Britain, but don't confuse them with facts. You know, the Jews are indigenous to the land, but don't confuse them with facts and all of that. But that is something that is extraordinarily dangerous, extremely dangerous, because it coalesced this anti-Israel rhetoric, the BDS rhetoric, branding Israel an apartheid state, kind of collided with a cultural moment in which the worst thing to be in society is racist, white supremacist, and colonialist. And suddenly they looked and they saw the scapegoat. They saw who to put that on. Now we know that throughout history, the Jew was always used to describe whatever is worse in society. It's literally what's happening in society, blame the Jews. The banks in Germany, blame the Jews. COVID, blame the Jews. Christ is dead, blame the Jews. Like literally, it's like, again, it's a sport. So now it's like white supremacist is horrible, blame the Jews. So think about the irony that for thousands of years, we were considered not white, and we were hated for not being white. And now we're considered to be the ultimate whites and hated for that, right? So all these things are intertwined, and they are inseparable from one another. And I worry that this would take down the single consistent democracy in the Middle East, the bastion of democracy, the front line of jihadism, the war against jihadism in the world, because if we're not careful. So I think the fact that, first of all of us are here, that means that you are involved and you're interested and you're invested and you put in your money and your energy and your love and your heart into this, which is crucial. And I implore you to keep doing that, because this is not just a Jewish problem or an Israeli problem. This is, again, our mandate to make the world a better place. Like, this is Western values problem that we all need to fight together.
Thank you. In preparation for this event, we invited attendees to submit questions. And this one was submitted by Samantha Gorelick. What is your advice for young people navigating social media and interactions with friends who share misinformation about Israel and the conflict?
Oh man, that's a great question, because I believe that Israel and the Jewish people are patient zero in a worldwide war on truth. Like, social media is going to take humanity down at the end if we're not worried. So this is not, again, this is more than just Israel or the Jewish people. My advice for that, again, is do not get into Twitter wars with trolls. Do not, don't, thank you. It's useless. It's mostly from like bots from Iran or Qatar. It's going to give you anxiety. Don't worry about it. But if you know the person that posted something, pick up the phone and call them or text them. Again, analog, have a conversation with a person. Call your friends. If you see somebody that you know, if you see somebody you don't know, best to ignore it. People ask me, how are you dealing with all this hate online? I'm like, I don't read it. And they don't believe me. I'm like, I literally ignore it. I just ignore it, because we live in a world today in which everybody has the ability to voice their opinion, right? Except they all think that their opinion matters. And not every opinion should matter. They don't. It doesn't. It doesn't. My mom's opinion matter, and my son, and my best friends, and my colleagues, and people that I know and respect. A person online, ignore as much as possible. Otherwise, you just lose your mind. So to whoever asked that question, reach out to your friend is the only way to do it.
Thank you. As a follow-up, I want to touch on BDS. You mentioned it a little bit, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. You've said BDS is a movement where way too often the ones with bad faith prey on the ones with bad knowledge. We've seen a surge in terms of apartheid state, colonialism, genocide from BDS proponents, as well as some activists and even celebrities. How do we react in public forums or in face-to-face interactions when faced with that narrative?
Well, first of all, the good news is that after our testimony in Congress to the connection between campus anti-Semitism and terrorism financing, because this movement is not a natural, grassroots, organic movement that just spurted on its own because of the Palestinian people's need. No, it's funded by people who funded Hamas. It's all in, my book has been out for 2 years. I've not been sued about this yet. So, that's what we need to understand, that we've been in a war for 20 years, except one side was in a war and the other side, which is us, was asleep. So we have woken up now and we've seen the results. It's going to take a minute to turn this ship around, but there are things to be done. I believe that after the testimony that we gave, the next thing that happened was the testimony of the presidents of the school. And there are a bunch of universities now that are banning SJP. They're starting to, they're revealing, thank you, yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about the funding? I don't know if everyone would know about that. I found your...
About the funding?
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
Well, if you read one chapter in the book, read the chapter of BDS. I don't want to get into it in details, but basically, we found out that through this guy, Jonathan Chancellor, who gave the testimony with me from an organization called FDD, the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in D.C., that in 2001 there were 3 organizations that were dismantled by the FBI for sending money to Hamas and to terrorist organizations, right? They were called Kind Hearts, the Holy Land Foundation, I forgot the third one. But anyway, in 2001, they were dismantled by Hamas. The people that were a part of that organization and raising money for Hamas and all that kind of like disembarked, dispersed, and recreated another organization called AMP, American Muslims for Palestine. That organization in 2006 created SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine, which is the proponent of the most disastrous stuff that's happening on campuses. So they give them material support and guidance and help, and they're the ones that support, literally bring the apartheid wall. So what they did was that they concluded that they're not going to be able to take Israel down militarily, so they better delegitimize its right to exist through the hearts and minds of young American college students. And we are going to expose them. We're going to get them banned. We're going to get them investigated by the FBI, by the IRS, and by the Department of Education. And we're just not going to allow them on campus anymore. The same way that they don't allow KKK on campus. If you have SJP on your campuses, go complain. It's a hate group. Great. Awesome. It's a hate group. They want to take down a democracy, and they're not saying that. They sit around and use all these words like justice and freedom. You know what they don't use? Two-state solution or the word peace. They're literally against peace. These organizations, when the Abraham Accord was signed, arguably one of the most extraordinary agreements in Middle East history, they were against that. They're literally against peace. They want to take a democracy down. We saw on October 7th how this is going to be done, and they're okay with that. So we cannot be okay with that.
Piggybacking on that a little bit, we had quite a few people pose questions about the safety of students on college campuses, which is a huge priority for those of us here in Wisconsin. So what's the best way to address that disinformation? Is it just the analog way you've talked about? Is there something else? And what can we encourage our Jewish students to do, especially in response to the anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist rhetoric?
Oy.
And what is the role of schools in education about religious tolerance?
Well, obviously, it's the role of schools to educate about religious tolerance, and it's in our Constitution. So obviously, that's a given. I'm going to give you a very cynical answer right now. Okay? Safety is the most important thing for Jewish students on college, right? On campuses. So make sure that your security is beefed up and that you feel safe and that you feel secure and all of that. That's number one. And when it happens, film it. Film it. Because they say that you never stop your enemy from making a mistake. I think it's very powerful for the rest of normal America to see these horrible, horrible demonstrations and the ripping of the posters and the ripping of the flags and the attacks on Jewish students because we've been speaking and nobody heard us because it was microaggressions on campus. So kids would tell me, like, they'd walk around and be like, no, it's Jewy, little things like that, right? Now when it's out in the open, the best we can do is document it and shame them. That's what we got to do. So first of all, keep the safety. And second, pull your camera out. Yeah. Tell that to your kids. If it's happening, let's take it. Let's show America what is happening. Let's show the world what's happening. And that would actually make it go away, because eventually there will be consequences. I'm okay with people who ripped a poster of a child being fired. Totally okay with that. Don't have a problem with that at all. So there should be consequences for Jew hatred, just like there are consequences for any other kind of hatred in America.
Thank you. So you talked a little bit about Harvard, University of Pennsylvania, and the presidents. What do you view the responsibility and accountability of the collegiate leadership to do during these times of disinformation?
Look, they all need to step up, but they're not. So they're not. I'm not entirely sure what to say about this more. I hope every university president and anybody that works in a university is freaking out right now. And this whole thing has gone to such a crazy extreme because we've lived in a world in which, again, microaggressions in college were not right, but for the Jewish community, calling for aggression is okay, right? And this is a big mirror that is standing in front of the face of higher education in America right now. So this is a big conversation. Of course, they need to take care of safety and security of the Jewish people and everybody on campus, but it just gone from it just became all politicized and all about like how to think, and we were not included in all the other minorities. So it's just like this needs to end. All of this needs to end. There's going to be a rethinking of what it means to be, an administration on college campus this day. I feel for them. They're going to have to do a lot of thinking.
Yes. So it's Hanukkah, the seventh night. I saw that you attended the Hanukkah party at the White House. You want to give us a little talk about that and maybe tell us, and what kind of support have you been getting from our political leaders?
So first of all, you can't be cool about going to the White House Hanukkah party. You can't. You can't be like, oh yeah, I went to the Hanukkah. You're like, oh my God, I mean, if you're cool about it, you're a douchebag. Like, that party again. So it's my second year, and I was like anticipating the invitation. I'm like, am I going to get invited again? That'd be great. And then I was. So it's beautiful. It's an extraordinary show of support to walk through the White House and hear like a Jewish choir singing and see rabbis praying in like the rooms, the White House rooms, and donuts and sufganiyot everywhere and lighting a candle, and they have a menorah, a Chanukiah from Kfar Aza, That I don't know if you saw that. There was a ruin of a house was ruined, but the Chanukiyas to them, getting goosebumps. Yeah, I know. Because we hear this story and we immediately go back thousands of years, like we heard this before, right? This is our collective peoplehood, and it was just it's very moving. I have seen extraordinary support both for Israel and the Jewish community on both sides of the political aisle. The Ways and Means testimony that we gave 2.5 weeks ago was about 43 members. It was 4 hours. All the members spoke. All of them asked questions, left, right, and center. Were so engaged. Were so right there with us on so many levels. It was incredible. President Biden, as a self-described Zionist, said this over and over again, which for me as an activist, I immediately took it and put it in the video when he said, I heard him for the first time. And it's beautiful, and I think that one of the most important things for us is to continue that bipartisan support of Israel for the end of days, right? So for the next administration and the next one and the next one and the next one, and this is we do this through being in touch again with your representatives. Just keep being in touch with your representative. They listen, they read the emails, they know what you want them to vote for and against, and the support that America had given to Israel right now is inspiring beyond belief.
So you've gained, I think we should have applause.
And can I tell a story of last year's Hanukkah party?
Go ahead.
Does anybody know where I'm going with this? No? Okay. So last year, I was invited for the first time, and I was very excited, and I decided to take my son. So Ari was 7 years old, and I was like, we're going to do a D.C. trip. You're coming with me to the White House. Because I heard I have somebody who's a friend of mine who's a congresswoman. I told her I'm going to have my son. She's like, bring him. You have to bring him. I've been taking my son to the White House since he was a kid. I'm like, amazing. So I say we're going to go to the White House and get very excited and all of that. And we plan this D.C. trip and go to the Spy Museum and go to the menorah candlelighting and all that and go to the White House. And I meet up there. I go with him. He's wearing a suit with a bow tie, and we practice handshake. I tell him you're going to meet a lot of people, and they're going to be kind of like important people that I work with. And you shake your hand, and you look in the eye, and you give a strong, firm handshake. He's practicing with people to come over, and he's very excited. So we get to D.C. and we get to the party, and I meet up with my friend Mandana, her daughter was a year older than Ari. So me and Ari and my girlfriend and her daughter Andy. And we get up and go up, and the Secret Service guy sees us with the kids, and he goes, listen, with the kids, you may want to go to the other room. He's about to speak, so get the kids to the front row so they can see him. And we're like, oh, great. So the two of us are like, excuse me. And we put the kids in the front, and we're waiting for the president, and it's a very small room. It's like it's like a quarter of this size or something like that, of the size of this room. And there's a little stage and a velvet robe, and the president is very close to you. So we get the kids to the front. We're standing kind of like a couple of rows behind them, Ari and Andy and Deborah Lipstad's grandson. The three of them are standing in the front, and we're standing behind them, and the president walks in with the first lady and whoever's going to light the menorah last year, and he sees the kids, and he gives us, and he kind of winks at the kids, and we're like, oh my God, this is amazing, whatever. And we're doing the menorah, the candle lighting, and everybody gets off stage, and the president gets ready to speak. And he grabs a mic, and he turns, and he goes, before I start, can I get the kids to come up here and sit next to me? My girlfriend and I are like, oh my God! And we're like filming the whole thing, and Ari and Mandana and Deborah's grandson go on stage, and they crisscross applesauce on stage next to the president, right, like that. And we're filming the whole thing, and he gives a speech next to the three kids, and my girlfriend and I are standing next to each other, and we're immigrants to the country. She's an immigrant from Iran. I'm an immigrant from Israel. Our children are first generation American. We're like, we love this country so much. So they're sitting there on stage, and at the end of the speech, we're like, this is amazing. At the end of the speech, the kids get up, and the president comes up and, goes up to shake hands. And he goes up to Ari and he reaches the hand, and Ari reaches his hand and he looks him in the eye. And he gives him a strong handshake, and the president goes, "Great handshake." Nearly died. I nearly died. That was like, I mean, Ari didn't stop talking about this for 6 months. And then a couple of months later, we got a picture in the mail, 2 photos of Ari and the president with a signature.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's 7 years old. Good luck living up to that. Yeah, I had to. We asked about the White House.
That's
but you have to be very childish and really enjoy it, because it's just such a magical moment. It really is, and I'm so grateful, like beyond.
I can see why that's a great story. That's wonderful. Thank you. As a mom, you got to be able to do that every once in a while. Fel. So you've gained a lot of, your influence has really grown, especially since October 7th. Does that change how you perceive your role in the Jewish community?
Oh, that's a really good question. Let me think about that for a second. But no, in a way.
Okay.
Because, that's a really good question. I've been saying the same things for a very long time. And I have felt for many, many years that a lot of people didn't listen. So I've been saying the same things since way before the book came out even. Like I've been warning against radicalism in the region, and the culture of jihad, and anti-Semitism on campus, and anti-Zionism being a sickness in our country, and the hatred that, I've been saying this. So I feel like in some way, I'm like kind of just like been going like this, and to some extent, like the world collided into me. And I think a lot of people that when they discovered me after October 7th, and they started, if they went back to like other stuff that I've written and op-eds and the book and the videos, and they're like, oh my God, she's been talking about this forever. I mean, in my book, it's in my book, the whole thing about online anti-Semitism and campus anti-Semitism, and there's a subchapter in my book called This New Hip Social Justice Cause, which is anti-Semitism, that I'm like, it's now cool to be anti-Zionist. So I feel like I'm the message is that more people are listening, and I'm honored to be able to do this work. That's the truth. I'm just really honored, and I don't take it for granted, and I take it with very heavy heart and seriousness. And with kind of like fierceness of Israeli. I'm like, don't mess with me, seriously. Not you guys, you know who, the bad guys. Yeah.
I think you really have grown in popularity, people who didn't know you. And as we get analog and talk to people, we say, have you heard and seen Noa Tishby? But I think it makes a difference, and the analog word-to-word person to people is really making a difference. People are really going that. So I want to end this discussion with a question from Dr. Noah Holschitz, who I think it's relevant to everyone in this room. And she asked, how do you not let yourself get completely discouraged about the fate of the state of Israel and the Jewish people? What is your advice for the days ahead?
That's a great question. So first of all, it's what happened on October 7th was devastating. I haven't slept or stopped crying for probably like a month and a bit after. Like there hasn't been a day that I didn't cry. It was devastating. Also, my nephews and my nieces are fighting. Like they're, so yes, yeah, that's true. So it's not that it doesn't affect me. It's affecting me. It's very difficult. But again, we need to look at what's happening now, and we need to look at October 7th and what I call the atrocities of October 7th and the atrocities of October 8th, right? So the massacre and then the insanity in Western civilization, right? Those two, this double punch. In the context of thousands of years of Jewish existence. and not in the context of what's happening of today, and not in the context of the last even 50 years in America or in the world or in Israel, but in the context, zoom out and look at it from the context of thousands of years of Jewish existence. And when you do that, you know that we will win this too. And that's what I stick to. I stick to that we've been through this before. We've done this before. We have the practice on how to deal with hate and with people coming at us. And I always say that, like, 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 2,000, like, we don't know what the world's going to look like. We don't know what borders even are going to look like. We don't know what the children of, the grandchildren of, Ilhan Omar are going to be doing, or whatever, right? Anybody like the Kanye West. We have no idea what will happen. But we do know one thing for sure, and that is that even 1,000 years from now, women all over the world are going to light Shabbat candles, and Jews are going to light Chanukiah. That's what we know that. That we know. So that's what I would stick to.
Take the long view.
Absolutely. That's what we do. We always take the long view, the Jews.
Thank you. I guess to that I will say, Am Yisrael Chai. Come on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay.
Let's give her another round of applause. I think we can all agree that this has been an incredibly moving and inspirational evening from start to finish. Thank you, Noah, for being here today and sharing such hope and light as we move forward. And thank you, Nancy, for leading this very important conversation for our community. I'm Julie Shack, and I have the proud privilege of leading the fundraising efforts of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation as the Chief Development Officer. And joining me is my partner in philanthropy, Susan Angel Miller, co-chair of the annual campaign. To say that these last few months are unlike anything we've ever witnessed in my lifetime would be an understatement. As a mother with a 24-year-old daughter named Izzy, who made Aliyah to Israel last year, waking up to a call on October 7th was both terrifying and reassuring, because in speaking with her, I knew she was safe. Just the day before, she had talked about going to a festival, but opted at the last minute to see the Bruno Mars concert instead. And despite weeks of my pleading to return home, she assured me that she was exactly where she needed to be, because Israel is her home. And when she said a few weeks back, while she was here for Thanksgiving, I feel safer in Israel than I do in the US right now, it struck me again that we are experiencing a time as Jews not felt in more than 4 generations. And I find myself thinking, is this what the Jews of Europe were experiencing before World War II?
I told you about my daughter as well, but I want to let you know that about 2 weeks ago, while on a women's philanthropy mission to Mexico City, we were led in discussion by a professor of Jewish studies at Hebraic University, who questioned whether the golden age that Jews have been experiencing since the Holocaust is now over. And while I continue to wrestle what's happening in both in Israel and pervasive anti-Semitism at home, I do remind myself that we are living in vastly different times since pre-World War II. Because not only do we have the state of Israel, the homeland of the Jewish people, but we have highly organized Jewish communities, thank goodness. Like in our beloved Milwaukee, which ensures that we all take care of one another at any cost. Never again means never again.
But safeguarding our community and the state of Israel demands significant financial backing. What I witnessed these past few months from our community is nothing short of remarkable. No sooner did we announce that we were kicking off the Israel Emergency Campaign that I had over 50 incredible lay leaders and volunteers step up and say, Hineni, here I am. I want to give a special thanks this evening to the Israel Emergency Task Force co-chairs, Bruce Arbit, Judy Corin, Jody Habish-Sinekin, and Craig Zetley for their extraordinary leadership. And as you've heard from Miriam, we are proudly raised $5 million of our $6 million goal. But it's important to know that we were given a goal lower than that from the Jewish Federations of North America, and we said, we can do better, and we are. We've raised this $5 million from over 1,200 community donors. Many of you are in the room tonight, and we thank you. If you have not yet made your gift to the Israel Emergency Campaign, please consider doing so. Our brothers and sisters in Israel will continue to need our support for this long road to recovery. Tonight, we also ask that you make a gift to the annual campaign. And Miriam and Shimon and Noah did an exceptional job of doing that, selling that statement, so it made my job a lot easier. We ask that you give a gift to the annual campaign because the campaign is the lifeblood of our community. There has never been a time when the imperative of the collective is more relevant. Our collective giving ensures that we can continue to meet the unprecedented needs for heightened security in our schools, our synagogues, and other Jewish institutions around the state. Our collective giving ensures that we have the funds needed to help fight anti-Semitism locally, statewide, on college campuses, and at a national level. And our collective giving ensures that we can continue to support our community services and partners which allow Jewish life to thrive despite these current challenges. Kids are still going to go to overnight camp, and they're going to go to Jewish day schools, and our seniors are going to still need special funding to lead dignified lives. But most importantly, we cannot rely on the generosity of others to ensure that we as Jews are safe and secure. We've heard that message throughout the evening. Kol Yisrael Aravim Ze Bazeh. We are all responsible for one another because, frankly, as has been said tonight, no one else is taking care of us but us.
So as you arrived tonight, you received a personalized envelope. I now ask you to take a moment to consider the impact of your generosity and really know that this is a moment of history that we want to all remember as having given as much as we possibly could. We all need this right now more than ever. It is our rainy day. So as you complete your pledge card, the Federation staff will be walking around to collect them. And please, this is such a special Jewish community, and it is so wonderful to see all of you here. Let's make a difference tonight. Thank you for considering this vital call to action. We are all mishpacha, the Yiddish word meaning tribe, clan, like family. And as family, our collective Jewish family, together we'll take care of one another like we have always done, today, tomorrow, and always. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Noa Tishby, our community shlicha, to lead us in the prayer for the state of Israel. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I now ask you to be as generous with your hearts as you have been with your contribution. Tonight, I'd like to lead us in the prayer for the state of Israel. I will first recite it in Hebrew, and then I welcome you to join me in the English translation. Please rise. אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו. הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך. ושלח אורך ועמתך לשריה, לראשיה שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך. חזק את ידי מגיני ארץ קודשנו, והנחילם אלוהינו ישועה, ועטרת ניצחון תעטרם. ונתת שלום בארץ, ושמחת עולם ליושביה. God who is in heaven, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the dawn of our deliverance. Shielded beneath the wings of your love, spread over it your canopy of peace. Send your light and your truth to leaders, officers, and counselors, and direct them with your good counsel. Strengthen the defense of our holy land. Grant them, our God, salvation, and crown them with your victory. Establish peace in the land and balance. Amen. I would now like to welcome UWM student and staff, and I would say, sorry, correctly, Hillel Milwaukee students. Yes, it's not only from UWM, our beloved students. And they're gonna light our menorahs today, and they're not gonna light one menorah, but two. The first one for our community, and the second one in honor for the hostages still being held by Hamas in Gaza. We welcome you to join us as they lead the prayer.
Hi, can you hear me from here? Yes.
You can sit.
Yeah. So we're just going to start with introductions. My name is Dilly Kittner, and I go to Mount Mary University. I'm graduating in 2 days. And I am currently the co-president of the Hillel Milwaukee Student Board.
My name is Rachel, and I'm a junior at Marquette, and I am the incoming student board president for Hillel Milwaukee.
My name is Emma. I am a senior at the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design, one of the few Jews. And I am the outreach chair on our student board at Hillel Milwaukee.
So before we begin with the menorah lighting, I just wanted to send a message to all college students out there, all the Jewish college students. I was just talking with a couple of my Jewish friends today, and we are faced with a really tough decision. We are faced with choosing to, show our Jewish identity, stand up for who we are, or our friends. And I don't think a lot of people realize this, and so to those with college students around you, show patience and show love, and just know to all you students, I stand with you. Yeah. So I just Okay. Do I grab this one?
Partial fire hazard.
Here you go. You got it? Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Chanukah. שעשה ניסים לאבותינו, בימים ההם בזמן הזה. אמן. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! Yeah! Wait, no, we have to be singing. Oh,
Yeah,
national anthem.
Good evening. I'm Cantor Richard Newman, and I'm here from Congregation Sinai, and it is my honor to be part of this wonderful program. Thank you so much to everybody involved in pulling it together. For now, I would ask you to please rise and join me for the national anthem. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? And we'll now sing the Hatikva, the Hope. And I'd like to invite Noah Gerasi back to the stage, as well as Tom and Eitan, our Shinshinim, and Henny, our Israel Campus Fellow. Please remain standing.
Yerushalayim, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים.
As we bring this incredible evening to a close, I stand here rejuvenated, feeling the flames of hope and determination reignited within me. Our collective efforts against anti-Semitism and our shared resolve to conquer it have been reaffirmed tonight.
We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Noa Tishby, Nancy Kennedy Barnett, and Shimon Levy, right? For sharing the wisdom and insight. Your presence has been a true honor, and we'd love to give you another round of applause. As Noah so eloquently highlighted, each of us holds a pivotal role in shaping the future of our Jewish community. We encourage you to take the first step this evening by giving generously to the annual campaign and the Israeli Emergency Fund. We must all rise to the occasion to ensure a hopeful and a bright future. Thank you.
Let us continue to pray for the people of Israel and embody our best selves for our local community. Together, let us stand united, resilient, and unwavering our commitment to making positive difference.
Thank you, everyone, for sharing in this night to remember. We wish you a happy Hanukkah and a safe and healthy 2024. Laila Tov.